In the early days of governmental currency, money wasn't paper. It was a coin made of precious metal like gold or silver. The value of that money was intrinsic, as the value of the metal that made it up. If you melted a gold coin down, you'd have the same amount of gold as the coin was worth. When the coin system became impractical, governments decided to come up with a new way of holding value in currency, which is paper money. At first, paper money was backed by a gold standard, which meant that a dollar bill or any currency could be exchanged for an exact amount of gold. This meant that a country theoretically held the equivalent value of gold in reserve, as there were paper in circulation. In 1971, the US abandoned the gold standard for their currency in an initiative led by Nixon. This started the system we have today called fiat money. According to the data gathered, in 2019, some 88% of international transactions involved the US dollar. Commodities like oil, gold, or coffee are all priced in dollars, regardless of where they come from.
The dollar came to dominate trade after World War II. The US was the biggest economy in the world. Other countries were trying to rebuild, and the dollar, it was stable and plentiful.
In 1944, a conference of 44 nations agreed to peg their currencies to the US dollar, while the dollar itself was pegged for gold. As the global trade grew, so did the use of the dollar to conduct the world business. Even after the US abandoned the gold standard in 1971, the dollar remained the world's currency of choice.
The world has gotten used to doing business in dollars because it's just easier than doing business in any other currency. The dollar is incredibly liquid, meaning it's easy to buy and sell things all over the world. The US banking system is very efficient, and those things combine to make it cheaper for businesses to buy and sell in dollars.
After 9/11, the US used its power of the dollar to advance its foreign policy goals. The idea was to cut to the source of funding for terror organizations. The US used its control of the dollar to increase surveillance of global money flows to curb financing towards bad actors. It did this by imposing sanctions on its rivals. Therefore, if a business or country tries to trade with a sanctioned entity in dollars, the US has the power to cut off its access to US currency. More than 60% of all foreign bank reserves are in US dollar, but the US's dominance is being challenged, and its share of global trade is steadily shrinking. The United States comprised 40% of global GDP in 1960. Today, it makes up 25%. So some analysts are asking if it's time for America to rethink the role of the dollar. After hitting a 3-year high, on the 20th of March this year, the dollar index, which is a measure of the currency's strength against a basket of 6 international currencies, has declined nearly 11% in one of its most dramatic slides in years. Right now, America can borrow dollars cheaply, but exports are more expensive. So other countries are less likely to buy goods labeled Made in America, and that costs jobs and trading income. And if dethroning the dollar seems unthinkable, analysts have pointed to other ways the dollar has repositioned itself in recent years, like abandoning international agreements and multilateral commitments. The slow death of the dollar has been predicted before, but when will it happen? Due to the information revolution, a new electronic payment method has been introduced, known as electronic cash or e-currency. Without a doubt, the purpose of such an instrument is to improve the efficiency of the traditional payment methods. Since 2009, the creation of the first centralized peer-to-peer payment system, like Bitcoin, has led to the creation of a novel and booming set of payment services known collectively as cryptocurrencies. These digital currencies are not created or backed by any government, nor does any one user have complete control over them. Could this become the chief way people pay for goods and services in the 21st century?